What's up, Matt Plapp? We are here, Longboat Key, Florida, with the America's Best Restaurants road trip. We got DELO, David DeLorenzen of Bar and Restaurant Insurance. We'll be back in 1 second. There we go. I guess we had a technical malfunction. We're back quicker than we thought, DELO. What's going on?
How you doing today? How's Florida treating you?
Florida's humid. It's humid. It's the opposite of Arizona, but it's probably like 207 degrees in Arizona, right?
Actually, we got some rain earlier this week, so it's only about 108, so we're good.
Okay. So I don't know how hot it is here, probably 85, 90, but man, it's humid. You can tell when you pull into Florida. It's you can tell that ocean's everywhere.
Yeah.
So tell the audience who DELO is.
Yeah, so my name's David DeLorenzo, go by the DELO, for those that know me. And I own a boutique insurance agency out here in Arizona that is hospitality specific. And the reason why I decided to do that, insurance was one of those things that was just kind of in the family blood, but B, I was in the entertainment business for a long period of time, and I kind of curtailed that love and my love for my family into a business that made sense for me. So, having owned 13 restaurants myself over the last 20 something years, I've become very aware and, informative of the things that, can and cannot go wrong in those sorts of environments.
And what I like about you, what caught my attention was you're one of the first agents I've ever seen that has a vertical. Typically, I'm a commercial agent, I'm a residential agent, and there's a lot of, if you're a car dealership or an auto repair shop or a restaurant, there are gaps that, I might have 20 car dealerships and I got 3 restaurants. Well, there's things that they might not have the in-depth knowledge about in that restaurant world, right?
Right. That's absolutely correct. So, our agency is a full service agency. We do personal lines, home and auto, and all that sort of good stuff. But when I got into it and specifically took it over, my love and passion was just hospitality. So, I personally have over 300 restaurants insured out here, locations. Yeah. So, over that time with experience and trial and error of seeing the way, claims come in and the way carriers react to claims and how just human emotion, people being inside these restaurants and how all that works over a time period, you get a very good, basis of the world and how it works in some aspects. And still today I'm learning new stuff about, whoa, I had no idea that sort of a claim could happen or this or that. But having the knowledge and the background and the experience and every day having my hands in it is what has really helped me become more of a specialist, in one area. And so when I do get other lines of business, like you allude to, like car dealerships and stuff like that, I have a whole, other set of, has a business. It's good to take that business in because at the end of the day, it's still insurance and we have those contracts, but I have a whole other set of people that handle all that stuff because my passion, again, reality, and the way I've set myself up is to allow myself just to deal with, the restaurants, coffee shops, nightclubs, live music venues, stuff like that.
And one thing too, you're similar to me because we deal marketing with restaurants. And one thing I noticed in my business when I went that route was I was able to share the knowledge with more people. That when I was working with a car dealer, a chiropractor, a nutrition store, a vacuum store, a roofing company, a home builder, a restaurant, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff I could share that was real life to those people. Whereas like with restaurants now, all I deal in is restaurants. And so every day I can stack that content on top and let people, get a deeper knowledge from us because of what we do.
Yeah, and restaurant owners are some of the most interesting owners out there. Quite frankly, all in, some good ways, some bad ways, more good ways than anything. So for me to have a passion or to make a living off of something through some sort of industry, I have to be into it and I have to be into the people that I work with, and it's all relationship based. And, I'm not really too thrilled, nothing against, Chili's or some of these bigger chains, but I'm not too thrilled to, let's just say, possibly work on something like that when I can go work on, Betty's Diner down the road, get to know Betty, understand her story, put her on my podcast, and do all that sort of stuff, because then you've got that intricacy of a relationship and somebody that, they get to know you as that person, as the local, specialist for what helps them. And then also being a connector of many other agencies. So once they trust you with one of their most important things being, their business or even their personal assets, they're asking you questions. Hey, what attorneys do you use? Hey, what food purveyors, and all that. And so 20 something years doing this, you get to be a conduit for all that sort of stuff. And that to me gives me just as much satisfaction as, still my younger self making that sale, and it's not even a sale at that point. It's a service, it's a relationship. It's something that, we heavily invest my soul into, maybe sometimes too much. So
looking at that, there's got to be some gaps or maybe some tips or tricks that you could pass on to the restaurant audience. One question I have is, last week we had a power outage on Friday. And Friday night, Saturday, I went by my favorite smoothie shop Saturday morning, and they were closed. They were closed because there was no power. The whole street was, I was looking at the traffic backup. I'm like, man, why are all these cars out here? I didn't realize the stoplights weren't working. But, their business was closed. I don't know how for long. I want to say probably 1 or 2 days because all the power issues. Are there policies that restaurants can have for interruptions like that?
Yeah. The simplistic way to put it is, insurance is something that I think generically a lot of people just think, oh, I have insurance, therefore they're covered for everything. And it's just not the case. As most people can see through the pandemic, realizing that business income didn't take, any claims in. Albeit whatever you think, that was the reality of it. That was what was in the contract. So when you're actually getting an insurance policy, you're getting a contract. You're signing a contract with a big company. All I am is an advisor and a person of the in-between. It's like, look, here's coverages that are available. Here's coverages that are not on this. Are you interested in them? No, I don't want to pay for that. Our margins are okay, cool. We talked about that. And a lot of those coverages are, cyber and employment practice. There's a lot of ancillary coverages that are important to restaurants that are not necessarily included on their standard policies. So getting back to your question, yeah, there is coverage for that. But again, what does your policy say? How does it read? How is it covered? So if you utilize the example that, somebody's driving down the road, they knock into a power line, and for whatever reason that causes an interruption, to your business 100 yards, 200 yards, whatever down the road, because the power company is out and they have to get it fixed. If you have, utility, coverage for this, sort of claim, it's going to cover your lost revenues for a certain, either dollar amount or period of time on something like that.
Yeah. And it also got me thinking about another story. I was talking to somebody recently, and I don't know this part of the business as well, but he was talking about known insured and trade names. And he was talking about his, a restaurant that he had talked to his agent. And he said that they were insured incorrectly because their DBA was on the insurance policy. Their actual company name wasn't on the policy. He's like, I didn't realize it. I got a guest here. He's like, I didn't realize it, but he's like, somebody else pointed it out. And I'm sure there's a lot of gaps like that as well.
That is a great question, and one that is overlooked so much. So, a lot of times, restaurant owners, when they're opening something up, they're just busy, and the information that they give could have changed, could have, gotten, I don't know, discombobbled in the communication between, email or text or whatever, is going on. And so when you issue a policy, we tend to look at it, double check it when it comes in, and we hope to have all the correct information that was given to us by the insured. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, there is a process where the insured, does need to take responsibility for their business and look at something. And you're absolutely right. If something on their policy is not showing the actual name of their company, and that name were to get filed in litigation, there's not going to be any coverage on the policy. So, because again, it's a contract. So you need to have the name of your company, your LLC, your corporate, whatever it is that you have. And you need to make sure that it is on the physical policy that ends up getting issued to you, so that even if you get pulled into a frivolous lawsuit and somehow they find your name, and the attorneys are clever, they'll find your name, then at least that will trigger coverage on that document called an insurance policy that you purchased.
Okay.
And that goes true for even if you have multiple let's say you have multiple locations on one policy. You've got you've got, whatever, Billy Joe's Restaurant LLC, and then you've got 7, different locations, and each location, not even necessarily a DBA, but let's just say it's a different corporate name, a different entity. So, you have Billy Joe A5, Billy Joe, those need to be listed on that same policy too, because they could all get drug into, some sort of, suit that goes on. And if they're not, there may not be legal representation for those entities.
Yeah, and this is the stuff I love about you, because I think that's the negative with a business owner. I was talking to a restaurateur. She owns a Fruitables in Atlanta, Georgia, yesterday. We interviewed her for the podcast, and she's like, Matt, my biggest struggle that first year of business 2 years ago was I had to learn things I didn't know. Like, you start a business, you're like, I'm starting up this Fruitables. Well, next thing you know, I'm working on the TVs, I'm working on this, that you need to have people in your corner that can sit down with you instead of just going on. Because a lot of people, it's easy to buy printing online. It's probably easy to go online and click a button and get insurance. But having a person, an expert on your side that says, hey, by the way, you got 4 locations. What are the entity names? And what are they, different LLCs? How's the structure? Are they on to this and all that good stuff?
Well, and God forbid you don't click the right button. I mean, there's times and places for online. It's called Amazon, when you're in a bind. But insurance is just not one of those. And even for me, let's just say I'm not even selling insurance. I mean, even for me, I want to talk to a human. When it comes to my most important asset, or even my homes and autos or anything like that, and I can lose everything or get in trouble, am I going to rely, on myself as somebody who knows nothing about insurance to click a few buttons and hope that if something goes wrong, I can talk to a lizard on the other line or somebody that's, non-licensed? No. And I can't, I've come across a handful of online, policies that have come back to me. And these are people with full bars serving lots of liquor. Arizona liquor laws are not favorable to the establishment out here. And I'm getting these online policies, and guess what they forgot to click? Liquor liability, And here, the other ironic thing about all of this is that they give me a copy of their online policy that they purchased without liquor liability. I go in, I quote it, I do what I need to do, get it through underwriting. I get them liquor liability, and I'm still cheaper. Online is not cheaper. It's just not,
Yeah, and I think that's a negative. It's a lot of industries. Now, yours is a very important one. Like, there's people that buy marketing online. I was a friend of mine the other day was talking about buying the brochures, all the stuff for his restaurant online. He found it like $10 cheaper. I'm like, but what's the relationship like with the printer down the street who eats at your restaurant? Not the person on the other end, but like you said, there's a lot of things that Amazon's great for buying books, for buying, microphones, things of that nature. But, when you're looking at insurance, you're looking at, credit card processing, all this stuff, there's a task, there's a relationship that comes into there for that expertise.
Yeah, 1000%. I agree.
Okay, so let's switch gears to end the interview. Let's talk about DELO, because what I love about you is you put it all out there. If you don't follow this gentleman on Instagram, you're missing out. Do it. One thing I like that you do that, I've probably got to get my nutrition a little more in tune. But one thing I've been better at the last 5 to 10 years is mind, is exercise, is mobility, is getting my feet in the ground and getting out with the earth. Talk about some of the stuff that you talk about with your with the DELO and your journey and fitness, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, during the course of my time and being in the restaurant industry and doing a lot of the things that I think a lot of people may or may not be able to relate to, but my situation was one of being single, getting out into the party scene, being on tour with bands, insuring new nightclubs, doing all sorts of stuff. So during that time, I became very, clouded and just distorted on what reality was of health. Albeit I thought I was healthy. I thought I looked good. I was just not. So, alcohol played a big role in that. But I kept on keeping on and I was able to build a good business through that time. And I have no regrets, that's not a lecture on, what I did or what other people are doing. That's not a big deal. But, as time rolled on and I turned 40 about 7 years ago, I just decided, I woke up one morning, I quit drinking, and I decided to go back to my roots from, when I was a kid, because I've always been into health and wellness and wanting to be in shape and, and do all that sort of stuff. So I've now kind of reformulated myself to helping others, and especially, people in hospitality as they're younger and they're growing up through this industry, it's good to have not even a mentor. I won't even call myself that, but somebody that people can bounce stuff off to that come to me. These young restaurant owners and people that are just completely like they're going crazy with the partying and all this stuff that I used to do, and then they'll come to me like, DELO, how did you get through this and do that and everything? And so to be a sounding board for those people was a goal of mine. I don't want to just sell you insurance policy and be an insurance agent. I want to be somebody that has lived life experiences through a world and is able to share all of my defeats and all of my successes, and hope that that somehow helps you in a way to better your own self the way that you want to do it. So again, I created I wrote a book. It's called F It, how to F up your daily life in a good way. And it's about the 3F system. So it's food, fitness, and focus. And you just start out with the real basics. And for me, tonight I even have a speaking engagement actually to a bunch of software engineers. So, these guys that, will sit there in the dark and probably program and not get any sunlight and, sleep. I'm making an assumption, but, so having the ebook and doing all that stuff and creating, let's just say a community, my community is going to be called The Force, and it'll be a place that people can come to and they can, strategize together and talk to me and find ways to just percentage wise make their daily life just a little bit better. So if it's, for fitness, if it's just, let's just take a walk after dinner. Like, how many people don't even do that? And it's so simple. You get done eating, go walk 10 minutes. I walk 40 minutes a night and I listen to a good podcast and I just, digest and I feel great, jump in the pool afterward, that sort of thing. So, fitness can be anything like that. It can be stretching, it can be mobility, it can be just moving your body just a little bit each day. It doesn't have to be all this, crap that you see that's like, oh my God, it's just because then people just get too overwhelmed. They don't want to do anything, and doing nothing is not moving the percentage needle at all. So with food, look, we're all heavily invested in food. Food is, it's how we make a living. It's how we live. And so it's not, my component is not a lecture on what to eat, what not to eat, if there's a good diet or not diet. I don't know what works for you, nor do I care. All I can tell you is that what works for me, and maybe the components of those, certain items, you can pull little things out of and be like, you know what, that's a good idea. Maybe next time I go out to eat, I'll ask to have it cooked, in some olive oil, or I'll use, lemon instead of this, chunky whatever dressing that it seems like I want to take a nap after every time I eat something, And so if you can just balance that sort of stuff out, and then the focus aspect of it is just taking time for yourself. And it can be 5 minutes, but if we just logically block out on our account, because we're all so busy, you and I will get done with this, I'll scarf some food down, and then I go to speaking engagement and the day's over. It's like, where did it go? And in between, I'll do 9 million other things. But one of the things that I will do is I'll take at least 5 minutes to go sit in a dark corner in my podcast room, close my eyes, and do some positive affirmation. And if that's all I have time for today, success, totally cool. There's other days, like on the weekend, I may just lay down for an hour and just, go and go somewhere else. I may do breathing techniques and exercises. So there's something for everybody out there, because that's just how we are. We're human. So I'm just trying to spread the word of creating a little bit more of a percentage at a time for people to, to be better within themselves and feel better.
And I think, and I love all of that, by the way. It's one thing I think about when I see you on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I get better every year. I know that I don't eat great right now. I probably exercise is the one thing I do a lot of, right? But also focus on me, my mindset, my health. But I think the restaurant world, it's easy to have an unhealthy relationship with food, because you have a bad day and it's like, what, screw it. I'm grabbing a Mountain Dew. I'm grabbing some French fries. I'm grabbing a cheeseburger. You have a good day and you're like, heck yeah, I'm grabbing a Mountain Dew and cheeseburger. It's there. I was talking to a friend of mine who's got every restaurant's got a pop machine, and he's like, I see people walk by all the time and they just get a drink, and it adds up. And then the other aspect of it is work. Like I talked to Holly yesterday from Fruitables Atlanta, and she's like, I had to come to grips with, it's okay for me to leave at 10 o'clock and go work out at the gym from 10 to 11. Like, I don't always have to be working.
Yep.
I might work a little at night, a little in the day, but there's that, like, you're chained to that restaurant. Like, you have to be there all the time. And then the focus part for me. something that changed my world the past 6 months. I read a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And one thing I learned from that was the fact I wasn't taking enough time out to focus on big picture stuff. And a lot of that big picture is me. And I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, no, a lot of us are guilty, especially entrepreneurs and people that are busy, not taking that time out for ourselves, realizing that it's doing more damage to us than we are getting any further.
Yeah.
So,
I read something the other day. It was, I think it was Bezos. It was one of those really rich guys. And he's talking about 8 hours of sleep. He's like, I've got two things I have to have: 8 hours of sleep every night and a 4-hour sprint in the morning. He's like, because if I can do those two things, we're good. He's like, a lot of people will get 4 or 5 hours of sleep and then work 14-hour days. He's like, I don't care how good you think you are. You can't perform for 14 hours. You can perform for a few mentally if you're working on high capacity stuff. And you owe it to your vendors, your customers, and your employees to be prepared for that 4 hours.
It's so true. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, it's just, are you ready to make that commitment to yourself is really what it comes down to, because you're not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for you. And I'm telling you, it changed my life just doing those little things. And there's non-negotiables for me every day. It's 100 push-ups, and those are even on days that I don't work out, and it's my stretching and my breathing. I mean, those are my non-negotiables. I just get those. I wake up with the sun and I get that stuff done, and I feel great the rest of the day.
And that's huge. I've got to get some non-negotiables there. I've actually been running all of June every morning for the most part, and ran this morning at the airport, at the hotel, because it's easy for me when I travel a lot to sleep in a little longer. You go to bed a little later, you sleep in a little longer. They're harder days. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting up 6 to 6:05, weight room, treadmill, get some mobility in. But one thing I was telling a friend of mine recently is everybody thinks it's an insurmountable task. And I said, you know what, dude? I said, you didn't get to the point you are physically in 1 year. It took you 10 years of neglect. Do not expect it to happen here. So, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to today, right now, 5 push-ups, 5 sit-ups, 5 squats. I said, he's like, what do you mean 5? I'm like, did you do them yesterday? No. There you go. You moved 15 more times yesterday. Then tomorrow, do 6. Next day, do 7. And I think that the same with food. Like, I had a buddy of mine who's big in nutrition. He's like, Matt, just don't eat fries this week. And then next week, don't have a soft drink. And the next week, don't have cheese. And you find those things that probably trigger allergies, that trigger pain, that trigger
inflammation. Inflammation is the number one thing. If you can find out what triggers that in you, and I am a firm believer that we're all different. Like, I can't promote, I'm a meat eater, or I'm a vegan, or who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for you, and know that if you put this in your mouth, you intuitively feel this way, then if it's a good thing, then maybe that's okay to put in your mouth. If it's a bad thing, then maybe you should, leave that out, or if it's a knowingly bad thing, like a treat or something like that, then maybe it should be a treat, not an every, other day occurrence, because it takes work to be a bag of shit. Quite honestly, it does take work, just like it takes work to, have your body flow and feel one, with all that you're doing and energy. So.
Well, I love it. You're a genius on food, on fitness, on focus, and on restaurant and bar insurance. Appreciate your time. How can people find the DELO? Get him on Instagram. I know that for a fact. Where else can they find you?
I'm just a dude with now longer hair and a creepy ass mustache. But I appreciate you saying that. So bar and restaurant insurance.com is my website. We do have the Bar and Restaurant Podcast. That can be found, and it's just called Bar and Restaurant Podcast, and that's just for fun. It's hearing other people's stories and stuff like that, and that's on Apple and all those other things. But follow me on I Am the DELO on Instagram, and then I throw in just a lot of the stuff that I do, and tips and trades, and all sorts of cool, quirky stuff that may resonate with you, may not. But sometimes when you see some of these new things, you're like, maybe I will try a sound bath. That sounds cool. And then you go, and then you're hooked, and you're like, I learned that on I Am the DELO. Wow. So yeah, Instagram's where to go.
Cool. Instagram, I Am the DELO, bar and restaurant insurance.com. Thanks, brother. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.